I have been a Dragon Ball fan most of my life. Some of my earliest memories as a human being revolves around me sitting in front of a TV and watching Dragon Ball Z on Toonami. I remember exactly where I was in my house when Goku went Super Saiyan on Namek for the first time. I remember how excited I was when I saw Gohan break through his limits, going Super Saiyan 2 when nobody else could. And I remember when Goku showed us what it meant to go even further beyond. Needless to say, I love Dragon Ball, and even though I don't talk about it a lot on this channel, it is one of my favorite fictional properties that has ever existed. Rest in peace to Akira Toriyama, because you definitely shaped my childhood in such a unique way. Now, as a lot of you may know, growing up, I was not allowed to have video games in my household, so I didn't interact with most of the original Dragon Ball Z video games that were available in the West up until I was about 15 years old. So basically, anything from Dragon Ball Z Burst Limit on up is what I experienced. Now, it's obvious, if you clicked on this video, that you're just as excited as I am about the release of Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi 4, aka Sparking Zero. For me, this will be my first entry into the Budokai franchise outside of Raging Blast 1 or 2. And if I'm being honest with you guys, I'm more excited for this than I am any video game that I played over the course of the last 5 to 10 years. There's something specifically within Sparking Zero that has been absent from a lot of Dragon Ball titles, and that is really at the core of what gets me excited about this video game so much. To understand what this thing is, you have to really get into the mindset of Dragon Ball players, and the most important thing that we need to experience when we play a Dragon Ball video game. See, just like many of you, growing up, I also tried to go Super Saiyan and threw a Kamehameha or two in the backyard with my cousins. We role-played the hell out of Dragon Ball Z growing up, and because I didn't have access to the video games, that was the majority of my involvement with the series up until I was 15, when I could actually afford to buy a console for myself. But the feeling that you got when you were a little kid and you were standing in the backyard, and the wind was blowing really fiercely, and you were pretending to power up just like Goku would in the TV show to match the pace of the wind outside as it ran through your hair, and you just felt the sheer power and presence of becoming a Super Saiyan. That childlike splendor is what every Dragon Ball video game needs to recreate, but for adults. When I play a Dragon Ball title, I feel like it's the responsibility of that game to recreate that feeling of me pretending to be a Dragon Ball character in the backyard as a child. And there are a lot of factors that come into play when recreating that experience. When I look at footage from Sparking Zero, I feel like it recreates that in a way that I haven't seen in a really long time. First off, the game is absolutely gorgeous. The auras, the color palette, the way that the camera angles work, the animations, it's all just so smooth and so fluid in a way that we haven't seen in a really long time. It's like you're actually playing the anime in a video game. Now listen, there are a lot of other Dragon Ball games that have really done a good job of capturing some of that anime essence, but with the modern technology that we have now, I feel like this has taken it to a whole nother level. Now, looking back at the past a little bit, I think the two best games that gave me that good Dragon Ball feeling were Raging Blast 2 and Xenoverse. Both of those games did a lot right, and in my mind, I struggle with which one of those is my favorite. But I also understand that both of those games were made in two different points in time for two different reasons. Raging Blast 2 was not only a continuation of the original Raging Blast game, but a successor to Budokai, and it did so many things right. For the time, it was a more modernized version of Budokai Tenkaichi. Dragon Ball Xenoverse, on the other hand, was trying to be its own thing. It took elements from Dragon Ball Online, but was also trying to be its own thing by creating its own story that was one giant Dragon Ball what if. And at the time, this was a really big deal because the Dragon Ball community was tired of playing video games where the experience was just, okay, Saiyan Saga through Majin Buu Saga, maybe some GT DLC or some GT content if we're lucky, and then we're just doing the whole story all over again. We wanted to play something different, and Xenoverse paid respect to all those old moments, but also added something new. Not to mention, they included customizable characters, which puts yourself inside of the Dragon Ball universe, and that really is what everyone wants to experience. They themselves being able to feel like they're a part of the Dragon Ball universe. But with Xenoverse, they took it more literally. Now I can make a character that looks as similar to me as possible and roleplay me being inside of the Dragon Ball universe interacting with these characters. I love both of these games, but if I had to pick one that I leaned a little bit more towards in the long run in terms of what I enjoyed the most, I honestly think it would be Raging Blast 2, even though I put more effort and time into getting good at Xenoverse 2. But why is that? And more importantly, how does this relate to Sparking Zero? One thing that always crossed my mind when I played Xenoverse is how much I missed the play pattern of Dragon Ball Raging Blast 2. I like the cutscenes that were like watching a mini movie while you were fighting your friends online. I like being able to go through each transformation one by one and having them feel a little different. I like being able to pick multiple characters at one time rather than just being limited to one and it being this war between me and my friends to see who could destroy the other person's team first instead of it being a stamina war like it is in Xenoverse 2. Now listen, don't get me wrong, it was very satisfying to outplay an opponent, break their stamina, and just absolutely destroy them in Xenoverse. But I do miss the aspect of playing a Dragon Ball game where I'm not worried about breaking someone's stamina and just it being about raw skill and gameplay. Something that I would do regularly when I played Raging Blast was select characters that I knew could fuse together, but I wouldn't choose the fusion right away. I would actually have the two individuals like Goku and Vegeta that would make up the fusion and have to fuse mid-game if I was having a hard time. If my cousin was cracked out of his mind with Perfect Cell and Goku was getting a little low, well, it's time to call in Vegeta and then do the fusion dance to give myself a fair chance. Just being able to go through the cinematic of watching your two characters fuse while the opponent is trying to stop the fusion from happening was just an exhilarating experience that's just lost in a game like Xenoverse. Now listen, some of the things I talked about earlier, I know Xenoverse has, like being able to go through each transformation. However, I would say the transformations when you play a game like Raging Blast 2 feel more impactful because there's that small cutscene that's just showing off your character. There always felt like there was more weight to those cutscenes and the transformations than it did in something like Xenoverse 2. And this is ultimately why I'm so excited about Sparking Zero, because it's bringing back that play style, that play pattern into modern Dragon Ball. I remember when Rhymestyle and I think Syriax were trying to push for a Raging Blast 3 to come out. I remember them having an entire presentation that they presented to Bandai talking about how the game would actually work, how if you're fighting for certain periods of time, your characters take certain amounts of damage, then their clothes would get ripped. All that stuff that we're seeing in Sparking Zero with next-gen technology, they were talking about that back then. Personally, I just feel like Sparking Zero is ticking all the right boxes for me. I know that there are a handful of naysayers out there who do not like this, think it's gonna be the worst game ever. I don't see how this game is amazing. It looks good, it looks like it plays smooth, there's gonna be a good variety of characters. I just don't know how you could hate it, but those people do exist. But regardless of how the haters feel, there's just so much I think to appreciate from a game like this. And because this is a modern gen title, I'm actually excited to see what they can do with this game. I know that DLC is a controversial topic for a lot of people, but I'm actually excited for it. DLC has kept Dragon Ball Xenoverse alive for almost an entire decade. In many ways, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is the Fortnite of Dragon Ball games. They're constantly updating the game, they're constantly adding new characters, there's different live events and missions you can do from time to time. It's just a really fun experience for what that game is. But with Sparking Zero, they can add so much more content over time. The longevity of this game could be damn near infinite. We just had a trailer which announced the next set of characters, which look really cool, but I know what everybody out there is looking for, which is GT. We know that GT characters are coming at some point. If they're not in this initial roster, they'll definitely be in the game later through DLC, and I think that that's cool. But I also feel like we could have a manga DLC pack at some point, as well as a Dragon Ball DLC pack. Maybe even a What If DLC pack, or a Dragon Ball Heroes DLC pack. Can you imagine having Super Saiyan 4 Vegito or Super Saiyan 3 Bardock in this game? I would lose my collective mind. I feel like this is a love letter to the fans. I feel like the people that are working on this game are huge fans of Dragon Ball, and I also think that they're going to do Akira Toriyama's work justice, so I can't wait to play it. I pre-ordered the game, so I will be getting the additional DLC when it comes out, and I got the season passes. And listen, if you're excited for this game and you want to see me play, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because I'm telling you, this October, I will be sinking a lot of time to this. I'm going to be playing on stream, I'll be playing with subscribers, I'll be playing with friends. This could be the game that makes me take a little bit of a break from Fortnite, and I cannot wait to go on this journey with you guys. So until October, let's just see what Dragon Ball news comes out for whatever DLC or whatever characters we have that should be showing up in the game. Anyway, I love y'all. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.